Is the new iPhone 15 Pro Max better than the S23 Ultra? Well, from the new redesigned titanium frame and the thinner display bezels to the new 5x camera and the faster USB-C port, yes, the iPhone is a better phone, but it's definitely a bit complicated. Now I know all of you Samsung fans are probably headed into the comments to rage comment and call me biased because I'm obviously wearing an Apple Watch, and you got me. Yes, I'm an Apple fanboy, and I have been ever since the iPhone 6s, but don't forget that last year, I flat out gave the win to the S23 Ultra over the 14 Pro Max multiple times, both in terms of it being a better phone overall and in terms of the camera performance because it killed the 14 Pro Max. But this time around, after 3 months with my 15 Pro Max, I've gotta say, sorry Samsung, because the iPhone is the clear winner. But wait, stop, I know you Samsung fans are probably headed into the sidebar to exit this video as fast as possible before you hear something potentially convincing. I'm kidding, but seriously, just give me a chance to explain myself. Yes, I understand that the S23 Ultra is now almost a year old, and the S24 Ultra is almost here, and it's a perpetual cat and mouse game where the latest Samsung flagship beats the iPhone, and then the new iPhone flagship beats the Samsung. Rinse and repeat, whatever. But it's not always like that because the 14 Pro Max had a bunch of flaws and drawbacks like the old slow lightning port and lackluster camera performance, but on the other hand, the S23 Ultra was a really solid phone in many different ways that honestly beat the iPhone right out of the gate. But this time, with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it's honestly different. You've got to hand it to Apple for having the balls to give the new iPhone a titanium frame, because if you watch some of the videos from Jerry Rig Everything, it was definitely much more expensive for Apple to do this, and it honestly gives it a much more premium feel just knowing that you're holding titanium instead of basic aluminum like every other phone out there, even the most budget of phones. Now I will admit that the design of the S23 Ultra is really premium with camera bumps that sit flush on a pane of glass for a really clean look, which is a design that I wish Apple would go with. I even worked with Shailesh on Twitter to create some renders of what I thought the 15 Pro Max would look like with a built-in additional periscope camera. But Apple went a completely different way and was somehow able to fit their crazy new 5x telephoto lens without using a periscope, but with a tetra prism lens design, so the camera bump stayed the same while getting a huge camera upgrade, as I'll discuss in just a minute. Now, holding the S23 Ultra in your hands, the rounded sides honestly feel really nice, but the square corners really do dig into your palms, while the iPhone 15 Pro design has these really nice rounded off edges all the way around, so it's comfy in your hands, and the weight is perfectly balanced compared to the S23 Ultra, which is really top heavy because of those cameras. So this time around, the iPhone wins in the design category. Now I will admit that this year, I randomly spawned a love for genuine leather. Maybe it's because Apple decided to ditch leather, I don't know, but I've started looking for the best leather cases and I've landed on this. The only case I could find that's fully wrapped in leather like how Apple used to do it. It's the Aspen case from our sponsor Andar in jet black, which comes with really clicky buttons, including for the action button, as well as a soft microfiber lining with MagSafe magnets built in. It's honestly the best leather case that I could find, especially with Andar's 90-day return policy, so check it out using the link below with code MAXTECH for a 15% site-wide discount. And speaking of the action button, I honestly believe that Apple nailed it with this new feature. Yes, I'll admit that it's nothing new because Samsung flagships used to have a Bixby button, but everybody hated it because it was easy to accidentally press, so they demanded that Samsung remove it and they did with the Galaxy Note 10. But on the 15 Pro Max, Apple's execution was honestly so much better because one, it's above the volume button so it's harder to press unintentionally, and the software experience is just so much better with the options that you have, like simply opening an app like the Tesla app. Or on the other hand, and this is the part that makes it so special, you can also do basically anything since the action button can take advantage of Apple's Shortcuts app to trigger countless amounts of custom commands like controlling your smart home lights and accessories to things that I don't even understand, so that's another win for the iPhone. Now, the last time I made this video with the 14 Pro Max, I had a couple of different categories that I tested where it was either a draw or a clear win for the Samsung, like the speakers, the displays, the ports, the performance, and the cameras, so let's dig into those. This year, the speakers on the 15 Pro Max got significantly better, now beating out the ones on the S23 Ultra. Yeah, that's a clear difference. And getting into the actual displays, I believe the iPhone wins this time around because the display is still brighter indoors and outdoors, and now the bezels are noticeably thinner and more immersive, which I love. Now, last time around, the biggest flaw for the 14 Pro Max was the Lightning port, which had very limited transfer speeds. But now, with USB-C on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Apple basically made it 20 times faster, up to 10 gigabits per second, which literally matches the speed of the port on the S23 Ultra. And on top of that, Apple didn't lock down the USB-C port since you can connect it to so many different devices, like when I connected it to my projector to play games, which was an awesome experience, and it was even able to power the Razer Peltier phone cooler, which was a surprise to me. So with that said, there is now a draw in terms of the ports. And as far as the performance, the iPhone initially had a bunch of overheating issues, but after 3 months, they've all been fixed, and I've been shocked at how well the iPhone's new A17 Pro chip performs. It's the first iPhone in so many years that no longer has the display dimming issues during gaming sessions in our office. And now with ray tracing and metal effects upscaling support, it can play actual AAA game ports on the iPhone itself, which you don't have yet on Android phones. And thanks to the 8 gigabytes of RAM on the 15 Pro Max, it's just been performing so well over the last couple of months, especially with its best-in-class CPU performance, so I've got to hand the win to the iPhone. And finally, let's talk about these cameras. Apple did something amazing this year by being the first company to upgrade the default photo output to 24 megapixels across all modes using the main 1X camera. This means that regular photos and portraits are twice as sharp, and it's instantly noticeable compared to other phones like the S23 Ultra, especially when combined with Smart HDR5, which just makes the photos look so natural. On top of that, you can now change the focus area of portraits in post when you're editing, just in case the portrait didn't focus on what you wanted. But the banger feature this year is the new 5X telephoto camera because it uses a tetraprism lens design, which allows Apple to have insanely good 3D stabilization that will let you shoot 5X videos like this handheld shot with crazy good stabilization. But even better, the tetraprism lens is able to gather more light than periscope lenses, which reduces noise and makes it actually usable in dimmer situations, while phones like the S23 Ultra will switch to the main lens and crop in because the image out of the periscope is way too dark. But the final nail in the coffin was when we made a couple of unbiased camera comparisons where we had no idea which phone took which photo, including one video where we actually invited professional photographers to join us, and the S23 Ultra lost to the new iPhone 15 Pro Max every single time. But with all of that said, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is now a better phone than the S23 Ultra after 3 months. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and comment down below, subscribe above, and definitely check out the Andar Aspen case. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.